Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse again with another video. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Not really. Today I want to cover and do a video about the decision I made concerning what firewall I'm going to use moving forward. Not only for myself, but for my clients. And then I'm going to explain why I made that decision. And then I'm going to just show you around on how I configured my the firewall after I've told you what decision I made. So, if I could get a drum roll, please. Or not. Okay. No fanfare. Not important. I went with pfSense. As you know, or as you may not know, I'm a big fan of Kerio Control. I've been using it for nearly 10 years. I love it. It's intuitive. It's easy to set up. Point and click. They had wonderful support, etc., etc. And I was a reseller of the product, which meant I got a version. I could run it here in my office for free. Well, those days have ended. Kerio's now been bought out by GFI. They've changed their partner agreement. They've just made it, put it out of reach for myself. And my clients are tired of recurring fees. They really are for firewalls. We've sat down and had this discussion that there are a lot of good open source firewalls out there. There's a lot of inexpensive firewall routers, and for what we're using the firewall for, pfSense is probably going to fill that bill. pfSense with ntopng on top of it. Ntop is a reporting program that tells you basically where your traffic's going on the internet. And we don't need the Kerio Control firewall was what they call a UTM firewall, Unified Threat Management. And we don't see the need for that kind of firewall to be paying a fee. There are other ways to go through cloud services that can offer you virus screening, malware screening, that kind of thing, everything coming into your network. So maybe we'll look at that in the future. But now, pfSense I'm familiar with Kerio Control, and I'm familiar with other firewalls. I wasn't familiar with pfSense, so I've spent the last couple of months getting very familiar with it, feeling very comfortable with it, that I can get out of it what I need, and that I can make it do what I want to do. So what I'm going to do today in this video is show you some video footage of my fiber connection, my equipment closet, and then we're going to talk about pfSense and how I configured it and got it to work for my network. Now, your mileage may vary. There's a ton of pfSense videos out there, so I'll go into some of the terminology on pfSense that can be a little hard to understand if you don't know what the terminology means. So let's get going. Let's look at the video. Hey, so my equipment room, still need to put those hard drives into my Dell server, but more importantly right now what I've discovered is I have a rat's nest of wires down here again, and it really irritates me. This is my this green wire here is my actual fiber connection coming in from my ISP, and then it goes through a transceiver that converts it to 10 base T. The problem is I don't want this here. Even though this is tough fiber cable, I want this fiber routed up the wall with the others, and then I'm going to mount probably the fiber connection right up here on a jack and stick it to the wall. Because what I don't want to have happen is have workmen or service people come in here and try and do some work and be screwed around by these cables. So what I'm going to try to do today, like I said, is get these cables all squared away and out of the way so they don't become a tripping hazard. So I'll take it before, this is the before shot, and then I'll take an after shot. I have really been spending some quality time with this router. I'm comparing this to pfSense, and while I like pfSense, I really like the Ubiquity line of products so much, in fact, that I've ordered this for a client. As you know, we're moving away from the Kerio control software. They've been bought out by GFI, and they've changed kind of their licensing and pricing, and I wasn't real happy with it. And I want to get my clients on something that doesn't have that recurring yearly software maintenance. And the beauty of the Edge router is it doesn't have any yearly software maintenance. So we're going to be doing a video on the Edge router Lite as well and show you how I'm using it in my office. And then as a backup, I still have this trusty, this thing was one of the greatest routers Buffalo ever made, the WHR-HP-G300N. That's why I haven't parted with it, because this thing runs DDWRT and it is a really fantastic router. But what I want to do, like I say, I want to get that fiber connection fixed, because it's really kind of bugging me that it's just sitting out there like that. So I'm going to take my time and do this very carefully, and we'll come back and show you the after shot when we're done. And here's the after shot. So we got it mounted on the wall. We've got a nice little gentle loop coming in the fiber. It's going down through the cable guides and is no longer laying on the floor to get trampled on. Now I still have to clean up these lines, and these are the old Power over Ethernet adapters for the wireless network we had before. So that all has to be taken care of, and then I still have to get a plate on that exposed electrical outlet. I know that really bugs a lot of y'all, but don't be too concerned about it. So there's the Adtran conversion from fiber to Ethernet, and then that goes down to the back of the Dell server. But so let's begin with where we have pfSense installed. So I'm not even going to tell you. Yes, I am. It's on one of my Dell R710 servers, my main production server, and it is set up as a Hyper-V machine. So here is the pfSense Hyper-V machine. Go into settings real quick. So I've given it 4 gig of RAM, which should be more than adequate. I've only given it one virtual processor. I've given it a hard drive. I think it's 120 gigabyte. Yeah, it's 127 gigabyte hard drive. And I've given it 2 virtual network cards, one for the LAN and one for the WAN. Now, the way my fiber provider works is they give me a DHCP address. They assign my IP via DHCP. So I need to have the same MAC address whenever I connect up in order to get that same hard-coded IP address from my ISP. So what I do is I just recorded that, and then I make sure that I use that MAC address consistently, whichever virtual machine I use or physical machine, I go in and I change the MAC so that I get the same hard-coded IP via DHCP each time. So my ISP does things a little bit differently. So that is where I have created the pfSense machine. So now we're at our pfSense dashboard. So I've given it name pfSense.mcs.local. It knows it's running in a Hyper-V virtual machine. It's got the BIOS, the version, platform, CPU type, available RAM, state table sizes, CPU usage, memory usage, swap usage, disk usage, etc. And then I've set up a couple of traffic graphs to monitor traffic on the WAN, on the GVEC fiber side of things, and on the LAN side of things. And then I've also put my interface statistics up here so that I can keep an eye at a glance as to what's going on. Let's go to NAT. Let's go to the firewall and go to NAT. One of the things I had to do is I had to open ports for internal servers I have here. So for example, I've got my web server, so I've got the FTP 443 and port 80 open. I've got port 81 open for my surveillance system. I've got port 25 open for my email, and then I have a port open for RDP. Now, when I create these using the NAT port forwarding rule, or using the NAT port forward, one of the nice things it does is it automatically also creates the rules for me. So out here are the rules based on those NAT entries that I've made. And you can see I've turned on logging on some of these. So for example, for incoming mail, so I created the rule out here. I created the rule in NAT, and the NAT rule automatically then created this rule. And I can come in here and I can edit that individual rule. So I can disable it here. I can also click the check mark and disable it. But one of the things I did is I turned on logging. Okay. Now it tells you the firewall has limited log space, blah blah blah. If you're doing log server, remote syslog server, which I have, we'll do another episode on a remote syslog server. But I choose to see the packets that are handled by that rule and have them logged. So once you've created your firewall, your NAT rules, keep in mind that the firewall is automatically going to create a list of rules for you as well. So then over here at my logs, if I go to the firewall, there's my entries for my firewall log. Things it's blocked, things it's allowed through. I have a dynamic view on those logs as well, and then a summary view, which gives me an idea of what traffic is being passed, what's being blocked, the source IPs, etc. So it's very easy to create NAT rules. Now what happened is I created these NAT rules for 80 and 443 because I do my own web hosting, as you know. The problem was that I couldn't, if I were to go out here and type out my web address, the problem was that it wasn't coming through the firewall. I could connect remotely from another client to my web hosting, but I couldn't do it internally. And that was because by default, if I go into System Advanced, by default under Firewall and NAT, pfSense turns off NAT reflection. Now, there's a couple schools of thought on NAT reflection. I know a lot of diehard security guys do not like NAT reflection, do not like hairpin NAT, etc., because they think it's a security flaw. I recommend that you use what's called split DNS instead of using NAT reflection. I don't agree. I have my reasons. So what I do is I turn on pure NAT, and then I enable automatic outbound NAT for reflection. I don't do it on the one-to-one because I don't have any one-to-one NAT reflections. I only have one public IP. So keep this in mind. If you're having trouble, you're doing web hosting, or you're having trouble coming back in to a website that you host on your public IP, this could be the reason for it. I also need to do this because of the webmin and the virtual min. In order for them to work properly, I had to have NAT reflection turned on. So that's what I chose to do. So let's come here to the package manager. Let's talk about Snort. So Snort is an open source intrusion protection and detection system. I don't load Snort. I just don't find a need for it right now. Now, if I find out we got people trying to hammer our firewall or something like that, I can always come back later and add Snort. But as a rule, I just don't load it by default. I know a lot of people do when using pfSense. What I do use, though, is a package called ntopng, and the reason I use that is for monitoring of the internal and external connections. So I've got ntopng up and running here, and I just thought I'd bring it up here. My most valuable interface is the host interface right here that shows all my internal hosts that connect out to the internet. And with this view, I sort it by who's the largest traffic user, and then I can just click on the IP address and get all the information I need. I have all these options up here: traffic, packets, ports, peers, protocols, DNS information, HTTP information, the flows, the talkers, etc. So that's why I typically go by the host view. Come back to that. And then I order it, like I said, I sort it by traffic, who's using the highest amount of traffic. This, of course, is I believe it's one of my TiVos. So, the wife watches Netflix, or the spouse watches Netflix, or whatever. So that's why the traffic goes up, or is so high as it is. So for me, all I do is a basic install of pfSense. I install the ntopng package. I open a few ports, use network address translation. I make sure that I turn on the redirection. What did they just call that? Hairpin NAT or NAT reflection. Make sure I have that turned on. So you could probably leave this to disabled if you don't have any internal servers that you need to get back into from your local network. And it is off by default, so it's not even something you need to think about unless you're going to be hosting your own internal websites or something like that. Now, it took me quite a long time to figure out that is what was going on, because every time I get my firewall set up and then I'd go out and try to use my web servers, I couldn't get into them. So I'd flip over to a different firewall. It would let me through and it would work fine. So I eventually came back and determined that's what the problem was with pfSense, was that NAT reflection is turned off by default. pfSense is a good firewall. It's fairly easy to set up. You just download the ISO, set up a virtual machine or a physical machine, and basically follow the prompts. So this is not an install video for pfSense. It's just how I'm using it in my organization. And then, of course, the ntop, which is another wonderful piece of software. There is some question whether ntop is going to be, you see they say they've got version 3 available for download, but this is the one that comes with pfSense when you go to the package manager. And it is, I haven't gotten to all of the bells and whistles on ntop. It's kind of a learn as I go thing. That's why I said my favorite way to come here is through the host. That way, what I'm concerned about and what my clients are concerned about is when somebody misbehaves, we need evidence to prove where they went on the internet and that it was them that misbehaved in order to take action against that person or persons. So that's where that host comes in handy. It allows me to go out and see where people are going on the internet. So there you go. That's what I'm going to be using moving forward with my clients and with myself. I've committed to pfSense. Got it set up here. I'm getting ready to roll my clients over to it here in October. Moving away from Kerio Control. It's going to be a sad day. Sad to see it go, but I think I'll be able to adapt with these software choices I've made. So I think we'll be fine. Now, what I've also decided to do, item one, I don't virtualize my routers, my customers' firewalls. I want it on physical equipment. And number two, I always make sure I have a backup. If I build a PC to be a router like pfSense, to be a router in a firewall, the hard drive can fail, RAM can fail, the CPU can get overheated, CPU fans can go out, power supplies can blow on them, and I'm at least 50 miles away from most of my clients. So I also include another physical device like a backup router that is already pre-configured and got all the NAT settings in there and port forwards and everything, and I mirror that. And then I leave instructions for the customer in case their main firewall were to ever go down. Plug the blue cable in here, plug the red cable in here, plug the power in here, turn it on, and wait 10 minutes and you're back on the internet. And the devices I use to do that with are the Edge Router Lite series from Ubiquiti. They're under $100 and they're a great little router. And in a pinch, they'll keep your network up and running and keep you on the internet. So that's what I'm currently using, not only for my clients, but here as well. In fact, in the previous, at the beginning of this video, I took you on a tour of the equipment closet again, and I showed you my Edge Router Lite. I had tinkered with running DDWRT on that at one time, and then once I got to know the Edge Router Lite features, I decided against that. But here's one I've ordered for one of my clients. In fact, I'll be putting it on site this weekend and bringing up the pfSense firewall at that client as well. So I ordered one of these the other day for this client, and we're gonna go physically put it in place. This comes in a little box, and you saw it at the beginning of the video, or when I did the server rack tour, how small it is. So there you go. Ordered, ready to go, ready to install. So I think it's safe to say it's time to wrap up this video. And listen, I just want to apologize. My last few videos, I haven't been as upbeat as I normally am. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's with the cooler weather, the shorter days or whatever, but I just don't have the energy, it seems like, and I'm getting a little more forgetful in these videos. And I've got a lot of videos coming up. I've got getting ready to do the classroom series again for the Windows Lab series. So I need to be on my game, I know. But I've just been so lethargic lately, low energy, so trying to figure out why that is and why I'm not able to focus and concentrate like I want to. But I want to get a couple of videos out here this week, just to let you all know I'm still alive. It's not that I'm dealing with any personal issues or anything. I've just had low energy. I got to find that spark again. And usually in the fall I find my spark. Because I know winter's coming, you know, and the walls are closing in, and I usually find lots of little projects to do around the house. So thanks for sticking with me through this kind of low energy period. But anyway, that'll do it for the video today. Thank you so much. I hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. Leave comments in the comment section. Patreon and PayPal if you're so inclined. Send me some money. I'll spend it wisely. I'll spend it on projects for the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the other side.